We wish. Because Goyer, I think, when we hear about the origin of this screenplay, he figured this out while they were trying to think out Dark Knight Rises, too. Which means their main focus was Dark Knight Rises. Superman was just kind of this fun, from the sense of all the interviews I've seen and stuff like that, all the stories I've seen, articles and stuff, they just kind of poked fun. They said, here's an idea for Superman, and Warner Brothers greenlit it. So I think if Goyer really wanted to craft out the screenplay, they needed to take maybe just a little bit more time on this. I wouldn't, seriously though, between getting a better story or getting a better release date, I take a better story. Seriously, because, more executives should think this way. You have one shot when you release this movie. One shot. And if it fails in regards, especially to story, then the critics and, the core audience members who really, really pay attention, they're going to think on that. And they're going to say, well, it's just too bad you couldn't come up with it, And this time it just didn't come out. And what can I say besides they just needed more time? And Warner Brothers, maybe they were a little hot-headed when they figured, we're so fresh off Batman, we wait another year, Dark Knight Trilogy will not have the same name. Oh, what the heck? Sure it will. It wouldn't matter if this movie came out in 2016. We would have remembered the Dark Knight Trilogy. I think that comic book fans are so adamant on those three films being some of the best films ever made, at least in recent years. They are, no matter, if you advertise it that way, boom. You immediately get people in the seats. Immediately comic book fans really pay attention. Same way with freaking Steven Spielberg. They put his name as executive producer in a whole lot of films. Even though some of his last films, before Lincoln and Warhorse stuff, his last one before that, Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, was looked at very negatively by people. They still put his name on stuff, and people went to see it. So if you get guys whose last work was a huge thumbs up from all sorts of fans, no matter how long it is, people are going to go see it. They don't care. They'll wait. It builds up the anticipation. But I don't know. I can't deal with this word anymore. Alright. So yeah, then we get the whole reintroduction to General Zod. Reintroduction being, we haven't seen a General Zod since Superman 2, which was a long time ago. What is that, over 30, almost 35 years ago, with Superman 2. And, okay, we're all credits due. Michael Shannon, I think, gives the single-handed the best performance in the movie. As the villain, as General Zod, he is kind of threatening at times. He is quite a character. And he gives in, actually, a pretty good performance. And it's not really, there's maybe a couple moments where he goes a little overboard into the shouting territory. But otherwise, it is just what this movie needed as its villain. It's almost up to the level of in regards to a Superman versus a Batman, it's almost up to regards as close to a Joker character. And I bet that's probably the best review this movie's going to get. But anyhow. Still though, I think the movie, of course, the problem when you get Zack Snyder, the movie's going to be way too CGI effects action heavy. And it was. Seriously, if the first 20, it was almost, I swear to God, it had to be 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes was the Krypton, opening scene on Krypton or whatever. And that was almost all action, And then right away we cut to Earth, another action scene. And then we kind of, and this is just another thing, we get flashbacks, which it's kind of a thing with me. Okay, I don't mind if you present, for a while, and then you do maybe a flashback, and then that's the only one. Whereas here, if you get several flashbacks in a row, that's just an editing thing. Seriously, I probably would have, and no, not because I, worship, praise the original movie, but if this had just been told in, chronological order, no flashbacks, except for maybe one flashback. There's one part where I was like, okay, you could have used, definitely that was like a flashback moment, and no, it's not, it's not a thing, you know. Not to really give anything away. This won't give anything away. But at the end of the movie, you know, they show the flashback, and you see it in a lot of the previews where the young Clark has his hands like this, and he's got a blanket or something on his back that's red, and he's, you know, pretending to be Superman, whatever. They showed that. They saved that for the end. You know, I wouldn't really. For me, put it in the promos. You don't really need it in the film. I don't think. Really. Well, okay, maybe you do. The more I think about it, but really though, I think there were a couple of moments actually in the film that I think were actually kind of well written and kind of well scripted. But I mean, I don't know. I think they're just too hot-headed, too hot, you know, fresh off of Dark Knight trilogy. They just needed this to boil a little more. And really, that's what the rest of my complaints will amount to. They just need time. They just needed more time, and they didn't have it, I guess, or they didn't want to have it. But yeah, so then we obviously get all this stuff with Superman. You know, he's an outcast a little bit, which is an interesting take. And you say, you know, after that you think, oh, maybe it's going to rebound a little bit. And then we get to the close to about the middle or so, a little after, and then when Zod shows up, and like the effects start coming back, you're thinking, oh, now it goes back downhill. And but really though, when we look at the kind of part there, another thing that's really screwing with me in this movie, it reminds me actually of a movie called Real Steel, which came out a few years ago. There is so much freaking product placement in this movie that it annoys the piss out of me. Seriously, I mean, there was one part where they're fighting, where Superman and these two other people are fighting. They're followers of Zod or whatever. Kind of the new Ursa and Non, I guess you could say. Even though, well, the Non character, he's a tall guy, a Yudasum guy, doesn't really speak all that much. Might as well be Zod, and be Non. And Zod, of course, there. And then they have this character named Feora, who I guess pretty much Ursa. If you know anything, I'm talking about the original Superman 2, when it was like the three. They called them, I guess, the Zod Gang, maybe. Some people call them that. But yeah, it was kind of like the new version of that. And they were fighting, and I swear to God, it was like 4 or 5 different stores when they're fighting in Smallville. It's like, dude, calm down on your product placements. Calm down on your promotions a little bit. You know, and seriously, when you look around, there is not a place you cannot find an advertisement for this movie. And I swear to God, commercials and billboards and web commercials, everything. This movie, they spent a whole lot on promotion on this movie. And it's almost to the point of overkill. Really, it is. And I think that's going to be one of its bigger flaws, I think. Which was, it started out nice, as far as its marketing went. And, with the teaser trailer that reminded us more of Deadliest Catch than it did. I think I said that, actually, just in my own head. I said, after the trailer went on, I said, that reminds us more of Deadliest Catch than it does of Superman. But then there was that one scene, where he's, trying to hitch a ride or whatever, and he doesn't get it. And I was like, okay, that's like Superman 2. Okay, maybe they have something here. And then the end part where Superman super farted, and then he went blasting into the, broke the sound barrier and stuff. That's what I kind of joked that it was, but it's not. That I thought, okay, I had the same reaction to the Batman Begins original preview. I said, is this Batman? And when I said, is this Superman? So I think, maybe we have something. It's going to be good. And then the more we saw it, kind of like with Batman Begins, I kind of, as the trailers kind of kept progressing and showing us a little more, I said, okay, maybe this is Batman. We see more trailers of this. Right away, I said, this is Superman. Like, within the second trailer, I said, man, this is Superman. And this looks great. And then when each trailer kept coming out, and there was, like, more action, I was like, oh, this is going to be a really action-heavy Superman. Maybe it'll be a good thing. But maybe they'll just, But I didn't account for the fact that story would get that far behind in their minds. Seriously, I don't know. I don't know what happened here. But yeah, I have to say, there is one really big flaw in this movie that literally points to just the epitome of the fault that either that I think the scriptwriters, I should say, and the director have. There is one scene toward the middle of the movie when, right before Zod, wants to, bring forth his evil armies or whatever on Earth or whatever, where Superman escapes, Lois escapes, but with the help of Jor-El, Russell Crowe, who I think he's decent in the movie. He doesn't really get a whole lot to do like intellectually that makes him important and relevant, or not really relevant, but that makes him special and memorable. I guess same could go for Diane Lane and Kevin Costner as Pa and Ma Kent, and the same could also go for Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White, and the same could more or less go for Amy Adams as Lois Lane. Really though, there's a part where Lois is running around with Jor-El, who's a hologram kind of like Marlon Brando in the original, and and he says, I will explain to you how you can stop this, or whatever. And then we come back, and evidently he's told her, and then she just has to get to Earth, I guess, even though Superman's on the same ship. This is the first flaw. Okay, Jor-El, why would you send her to Earth when Superman is on that ship? Why not just take her to Superman and have her tell Superman? I don't know. I know he's captured or whatever, but Jor-El, they can distract him, and she can get a gun and shoot the guy who's, holding him captive or whatever. And she can tell Superman, boom. But instead, no. He sends her to Earth, which is the complete opposite 180 where she should really go. And then she starts to burn up when she goes down to the Earth's atmosphere in an escape pod kind of thing. Superman breaks free, and which by the way, he was already breaking free because Jor-El, it's a silly thing where he gravitalized, turned the ship to Earth or whatever, Earth conditions or whatever the thing was. It was a little silly, but I guess in the same respect that you could criticize the end of the first Superman movie when he flies around the Earth in reverse, the way that was silly, I guess you could say this part's silly. But Superman's pretty much coming to them. Why not just tell him now? But no, they don't. Instead, he sends her to Earth, and then Superman comes down. She starts burning up in the atmosphere. He saves her, and then before she says anything about the impending thing that's coming, evidently the impending thing that's coming, because Zod told them, I have a thing, maybe, I have this thing, and evidently they know what it will do, destroy Earth, and instead of her telling him, wait, I have to tell you something, I know how to stop this, instead she just lets him fly off and fight in a ridiculous battle that induces product placement and literally is a filler in already a pretty, you could complain, overlonged movie. They need filler.